Good afternoon, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. We begin in Saskatchewan, where one person has been shot and another has been injured after an incident in Thunderchild First Nation, located 90 kilometers northwest of North Battleford. According to a Saskatchewan RCMP spokesperson, at around 11:15 Tuesday morning, someone called the Turtle Ford RCMP with a report of an injured person in Thunderchild. When they arrived, they found another male with an injury consistent with a gunshot wound. He was taken to hospital by EMS with non-life-threatening injuries. RCMP searched the area of where the incident occurred and located a firearm. Sources tell APTN News that the incident was gang-related and that the First Nation was put into lockdown for about 30 minutes as a precaution. RCMP are continuing their investigation. Elevated benzene levels shut down buildings again on Aamjiwnaang First Nation in southern Ontario, this time for the second day in a row on Tuesday. CTV's Brian Bicknell has more.
It's definitely frustrating. It just keeps happening.
Carrie Plain becomes upset when she learns of elevated benzene levels in her community.
I take my son out now. I want to spend time outside and be able to play or go for walks, and then to find out afterwards that these levels were super high, and I could have just been making him worse, and he wouldn't have been able to tell me, he's too young.
For the worried mom and many others at Aamjiwnaang, it's another day of shuttered buildings and working from home. Elevated benzene readings were detected near neighbor chemical plant Ineos Styrolution. The site is shut down for maintenance, and last week it was ordered by the province to suspend operations.
Everybody's sad because they can't, go out and enjoy their normal day's routine. The sun is shining. It's a beautiful day. And there's a lot of things we just can't do anymore.
Well, the company has been criticized in the past for its lack of communication. On Monday, Ineos issued no fewer than 8 notifications to the community with benzene readings. It also made a point of saying it is not the only company in this area producing benzene emissions. Some elders concede the concerns reach far beyond the operations of one company.
They need to make people aware that what's blowing across and down our road is not really normal.
He sits outside because he's, at his home, and we try to tell him it's dangerous because of the benzene, but he's used to being out there, and then for the children, it's even. It's worse for them because their playground was here and they just built that playground.
In the meantime, Aamjiwnaang Council sent a notice to the community that several buildings will be closed for a third day on Wednesday due to high benzene levels. Community members are advised to exercise caution. Brian Bicknell, CTV News.
Still in Ontario, the Chiefs of Ontario marched into the hallways of the legislature in Toronto on Tuesday, alongside NDP MPP Saul Mamakwa, to protest against the provincial and federal governments denying them equal access to justice. And they've launched a constitutional challenge on the matter. The challenge alleges both governments do not provide enforcement and prosecution services to First Nations, nor do they provide enough funding to hire band enforcement officers or prosecutors. The Chiefs also point to Ontario's Community Safety and Policing Act, which took effect on April 1st, that explicitly excludes the enforcement of First Nations bylaws from mandatory policing duties. They say because of this, First Nations cannot combat addiction, banish dangerous people, regulate tenancy and evictions, or stop the dumping of waste in their territory.
We have drug trafficking, we have organized crime, human trafficking, and when you see the way human trafficking is tied into murder and missing Indigenous women and girls.
Add us in there and enforce our laws. Otherwise, you're leaving our women and children vulnerable.
That brings us to one of our WebPole questions this week. Would your community be better off if it was detached from Canada's Charter of Rights and Chief and Council had full control over all decisions? Yes, no, or not sure are your options there? You can have your say over on our website, aptnnews.ca. To the north now, where a large international passenger plane had to make a sudden stop earlier on Tuesday. An Air France Boeing 787 Dreamliner flying from Paris to Seattle had to divert suddenly its course and land in Iqaluit just before noon on Tuesday after the flight crew declared an emergency at 36,000 feet. The plane can seat up to 250 passengers. According to Air France, there appeared to be a heat smell in the cabin. A recovery plane arrived in Iqaluit last night and got passengers on their way. Montreal's homelessness advocates often say they struggle to meet needs. And a new report by an Indigenous-led organization explores these gaps and how they affect the city's overrepresented Indigenous homeless population. Maricela Amador has that story.
Usually just plant here, 3 inches deep.
Simini Nuya enjoys coming to this garden in the middle of bustling Montreal.
That's how we usually do it.
He gets to touch the earth and find community, which is important to him since he's been living in a shelter off and on for 15 years.
It's not that easy, it's hard. You have to find your resources, you have to find where you could sleep, where you could hang out during the day.
Nunya, who arrived from Nunavik 29 years ago, is now part of a collective that supports the homeless population in the city.
We started an outreach program, harm reduction. So we hand out like crack pipes, crystal meth pipes and stuff, because a lot of people are addicted to drugs. So we want to make sure that they don't get diseases.
And although these services help, Nunya said more resources are continuously needed.
Where I'm staying now, it's like in the same building as the watch shelter. And I think like we need more bigger space so that we can have more people in there, because there's like a lineup for to get into that program.
A report by the Montreal Indigenous Community Network highlights many of the ongoing gaps that affect the urban Indigenous population.
I didn't realize the pictures Katya used for this. They look really nice.
Leilani Shaw, the executive director of the network, said the report provides a comprehensive portrait of the needs observed by frontline workers over the last few years.
It is really important to continuously put pressure on these systems, but also to remind the current systems and structures that are in place that they are not doing enough and they are not adapted to our community and what we need in order to thrive.
Shaw hopes the report becomes a resource for organizations and governments moving forward.
People end up homeless for multiple different reasons, whether they are coming to Montreal to receive different services like healthcare, education, mental health services, and more. And through no fault of their own or for many different reasons, they could end up trapped here.
According to the report, Indigenous peoples make up about 12% of Montreal's visible homeless population, despite comprising only 0.6% of the city's total residents.
So this is where the apartments are going to be.
Stacy Boucher-Antony is the executive director of Indigenous Project Quebec.
We rent it out for 5 years.
An organization offering, among other services, a wet shelter in downtown Montreal.
There's currently 14 bedrooms in there and shared spaces.
She said that overrepresentation of Indigenous people experiencing homelessness in the city is not new, nor is the constant struggle organizations face for funding.
La prévention, là, c'est ce qui est payant. Puis la prévention, c'est sûr qu'on ne voit pas les résultats dans l'immédiat. Ça prend des années, des générations. Mais c'est ce qui est payant comme société de miser sur la prévention. C'est de s'assurer que les familles aient assez de support pour pouvoir bien vivre. C'est de s'assurer que les enfants soient supportés.
Nuya struggles with alcoholism. The services he needs most are those that help his recovery.
I'm still in the process of healing myself, but it took a long time for me to get to this point. Going to the elders and seeing, that helped me out a lot.
Nuya hopes to leave a life of addiction behind, but needs the help from initiatives such as addiction counseling from an Indigenous perspective that currently are in need of more funding. Maricela Amador, APTN National News, Montreal.
Before we head to break now, here's a look at what our Whitehorse Bureau is working on.
I'm Sarah Connors, and I'm at the Kwanlindun Cultural Center in Whitehorse, the location of the 12th Annual Arctic Inspiration Prize. Coming soon on APTN National News, I'll tell you about the teams from across northern Canada that were awarded over $3.2 million for projects that celebrate northern innovation. That's coming tonight on APTN National News.
Welcome back. City crews in Winnipeg began changing signs for 3 streets this week. The new names are in the Indigenous languages of Ojibwe, Cree, and Michif. The streets had former names having to do with Bishop Vital Justin Grandin. The Catholic bishop was also an architect in the Canadian residential school system. Geraldine Shingoose, who is Anishinaabe and also known as Grandma Shingoose in the city's Indigenous community, reflected on the changes with the drive along the first street that has most of the new signs up. And our TR Wheatley went along for the ride.
Thanks for taking me on a ride today, Grandma.
Okay, come along.
So, Grandma, I'm Cree. Am I saying it right? Abinoji Mikana?
Yeah, Abinoji Mikana. Yeah, you're saying it right. Children's Way. I was feeling heavy last night after I seen it because it just triggered my residential school experience, but it also it reminded me that people are seeing that we're getting rid of the colonial names, like, you know, Bishop and Grandin, like Abinoji Mikana. You see that? Like, it's changed. So I'm just gonna drive up further and see if it's it's there. Oh my God, they did it! Hey, I'm just happy.
I can see.
So I just wanted to celebrate this drive. It's an honor to be driving down Abinoji Mikana.
Yeah. I guess you were one of the ones who pushed for this.
Yeah, I pushed for it, but and then I guess it had to be presented to a committee, and it was denied. I remember it being denied, and just pushing and pushing for it. Just wanted the names changed, hey? Like, you know, because Bishop Grandin, he played a big role in our residential school, creating it, like, you know, along with John A. MacDonald. He orchestrated them, and he created them to assimilate us, hey, like, you know, us children. And they tried every which way, but they weren't successful. Hey.
So tell me a little bit about, you know, you took me outside earlier for a walk. You put some toys up. Tell me why that's so important for you.
Okay, so I felt that I should come out today and just celebrate, like, you know, as a survivor, but I also wanted to put out toys. It reminded me of the little ones that didn't make it home from residential school. And I wanted to celebrate with them by gifting them toys, and toys that we used to play with in residential school, like the skipping rope. We used to always skip during recess, and then, and we used to love watching Bugs Bunny, and Bugs Bunny was one of my favorite characters, and I know it was the other kids, because, you know, he's just always so happy. He got away with everything.
Awesome. Anything else you want to say, Grandma?
I just wanted to let them know that that we're making the change for youth, and yeah, we're bringing change, and we're changing names, and Abinoji Mikana is for the children, the ones that didn't make it from residential school, and also for the survivors.
Love that story. Thanks, TR and Grandma, for that. Winnipeg had actually announced the name changes last year as a form of reconciliation. Now the winter is gone, city crews are able to make the changes. The other two road names are Awasisuk Meskinau. It's Cree and translates to Children's Road. The other is Machif and is called Tapwewin, meaning truth. The city plans to have an official ceremony with the Indigenous community later this summer. Overseas now, and First Nation students across New South Wales are finding a new way to connect to culture at school. Run by the Bangara Dance Theatre, a series of workshops has seen students from more than 100 schools across the state come together for a lesson in traditional knowledge through dance.
Finding the beat to a different style of learning. Hundreds of First Nation school students gathering for one of 10 workshops run by the Bangara Dance Company.
1, 2.
An opportunity to learn from some of the most esteemed in the industry.
It feels like an honour to be working with them because their experience doing dances is really good.
And unite with peers.
What has been another highlight for you joining this?
Meeting them, making new friends, and just getting to dance.
It's a 14-year collaboration with the New South Wales Department of Education, bringing together students from 115 public schools across the state to teach new moves from an ancient art form.
For me, it's immensely satisfying to see these kids partaking in workshops like this, because it wasn't there for us when we were going through schools and stuff, and the reason why we created programs like this now, so that our kids can see people like themselves, Indigenous people up there teaching.
While providing the steps needed to connect to culture.
I think it gives them a sense of pride and identity, and once you know that as a person, you change.
For some, it's an opportunity to unlock potential.
I first discovered this program in Year 7 and I auditioned myself, I think it was 2016, and I got into the company.
Now she's carving a path on stage for others to follow in her footsteps.
It's a full circle moment, like I didn't expect to, especially this soon, to be like in their position teaching the kids.
Discovering new moves and new opportunities. Emma Kellaway, NITV News.
Thanks to our relatives at NITV for that story. Time for one last break here, but coming up, we'll have a special performance from Murray Porter. Stick around. Welcome back now to Vancouver, where a special guest is about to join us with a song and sit-down interview with APTN's Tina House. It's about remembering those who were lost or who have been found murdered on what is known as the Highway of Tears.
Joining us today from APTN studio in North Vancouver is the one and only Mr. Murray Porter.
Highway 16, where did our sisters go? Highway 16, where did our sisters go? Seems like nobody cares. Nobody cares, nobody knows. Well, mothers and daughters, fathers and sons, well, brothers and sisters, we've all lost someone. I thought every life mattered, each and every single one. A Highway 16, where did our sisters go? A Highway 16, where did our sisters go? Seems like nobody cares. Nobody cares, nobody knows. Seems like nobody cares. Nobody cares, nobody knows. Seems like nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares, nobody knows.
Murray, that song, Highway 16, that was absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing that with us.
You're very welcome.
Tell me about the inspiration behind that song.
Well, that song was written because of the murdered and missing women that go not only in Canada but around the world, but specifically our people here in northern BC. The majority have come from that place, Highway 16, and so that's why it inspired me to write the song. And I just wanted everyone to know what's happening to our people, what has happened to our people. So, and I think it's still happening today.
Pretty powerful way to get across the message. I mean, we saw some visuals in the back while you're performing. Your words are just so telling of the situation for MMIWG, like right across the world, as you say. Now, your career in music goes back 45 years. Tell me about how you started.
Well, I began by, of course, like anybody else, playing in a rock band, cover bands, playing other people's music. And I got to a point where I was singing what other people were feeling. And hey, why maybe I should just write my own songs and get my own feelings out there, what I think, instead of singing someone else's feelings. So that's when I started to write, and it became, I was real fussy about it though, because every song has to be just right, perfect, you know, and I try to make them all different, you know, so it becomes a real struggle to, because there's only 12 notes on a scale, and that's all you got to work with, so it's how you use them, how you put them together. So I'm happy, and I'm looking forward to a long career.
And you're currently writing right now?
That's correct. I'm writing some new songs, and I'm going to be traveling to Washington, D.C. this summer on my birthday to the Museum of the American Indian 20th anniversary. So Elena and I are both going down, and we're going to have some little bit of fun there, and enjoy meeting all the other artists from around North America. That's the biggest fun for me, actually.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Juno Award-winning Murray Porter joining us here in our studio. Back to you.
And our thanks to Murray and Tina for that. That is all the time we have for your APTN National News this afternoon. We'll be back in just a couple of hours with your next newscast right here at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, you can always find the latest on our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Merci, miigwech. Thanks for being with us. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.